All right. Welcome to Theory of the Dollar, Dr. Jermaine Kimble. And I'm excited about this episode. My guest this week is Jason Lapointe of J. August Media. Now, the reason why I'm excited about this one, so this is 2024. I've known this man for 20 years. This year makes 20 years. We met in 2004.
Yes.
So this one is not, I have to reel myself in and not ask questions or lead questions so I know the answer. I want you to be able to talk freely about, what you have going on. But I'm excited because, he's the epitome of what the show is about. So he took a hobby and turned it into a full-blown career. So again, over the past couple of weeks, I've been talking about, find your niche and, run with it. You have a talent, whatever it is. If you could take something that you enjoy doing and find a way to monetize it, you're halfway there. I mean, success is on the way because you're something you're already good at, something you already enjoy doing. So that's where he comes in. So I'm gonna let you, introduce yourself. But like I said, I'm excited to talk to you about this.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me, man. Look, it's big things that I see that's going on here, and it's a pleasure. It's an honor. I'm being honest. It's an honor.
I appreciate it.
I was nervous at first. I was like, wait a minute, that's my man. Hold on a sec. So to introduce myself, my name is Jay, or J. August. I own a company called J. August Media here in the Atlanta area. And pretty much what we do, we take photo and video and we amplify brands and we amplify personal stories. That's all we do. So I could say, like, for what got me started out here with J. August Media was a passion for photography, and then it led into videography later on. So, but I'll stop there because I don't want to. I'll talk for days.
Same. I can let you run with it. So, all right. Usually the way I break this down in the show is, we talk about, I introduce the person and say, hey, why should the people who are watching care? Like, why does your opinion or your thoughts on particular subjects matter? So this is what I want you to brag on yourself a little bit. All right. So tell the audience, maybe some of your clients, some of the things that you've done, some of the recognition you've received, like for like weddings, everything. Just
let's go for it. So I would say one of the biggest accomplishments that I had was back in 2018. Before I owned J. August Media, I was with a business partner, and we owned another company, wedding photography company. But in 2018, we were recognized as one of the top 10 photographers and videographers in the Atlanta area, and that was through Modern Luxury Magazine's the weddings portfolio of their brand. Outside of that, I took shooting weddings to moving into working with big brands like Home Depot, Crumble Cookie, a lot of local organizations here like Community Teen Coalition, Southern Education Fund, Ryan Companies, which is a huge builder based out of Ireland, but they have headquarters here. So it's been a lot. And I would say it all started and all stemmed from just having this passion to tell a story, to take some type of camera and tell a story on the other side. So when that person is like looking at the photo, you're like, man, it's a little bit more to that. Where'd you get that from? So I would definitely say that. So I'm excited about this interview. For the most part, it's going to help a lot of entrepreneurs that's contemplating that hobby that they have, if they could turn that into a profit.
All right, so that's actually two things I want to cover with you.
Okay.
So one, it's how do you find the courage, because you walked away from a 9-to-5 to do this full time.
Yeah.
So one, it's finding, and what makes that special is you walked away from 9-to-5 while you have a family at home that you still take care of. Mm-hmm. So that means that there's not much room to, for things to go wrong, and you have to have this, you have to have a plan. So
correct.
How did you do that, find the courage to do that, and make that happen? Also, how can what you do translate to other businesses? Meaning, you said you take brands, you tell a story. So a lot of people have like apparel businesses, or like me, have a consulting company. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I've seen that you do on LinkedIn, which I think is really cool, is you talk to people about building their brand on social media, not just with a professional photographer, but how they could do it on their own. Mm-hmm. So I want you to help those businesses that, are trying to expand their reach. What some tricks and tips that you can give them to help them get themselves out there more?
Okay. All right. So we'll start off with the first part of your question, and that is, what made me jump, or what support system, because that's the biggest thing I want to focus on, is the support system that you had to jump. So the first time, because there was 2 times that I actually jumped, believe it or not, but the first time I jumped out, it was my wife. So plenty of times we've been into situations to where I'm taking photos or I'm delivering photos and I'm getting a lot of feedback saying, yeah, look, you really need to take this to the next level. You need to jump out of corporate because you're wasting your time. My background, to be honest, like moving a little bit further back, was in psychology. That was my degree, psychology. And I moved into claims, had absolutely nothing to do with psychology. But now I think about it, it actually did, because you had to deal with a lot of crazy people. But on the flip side of it was in psychology. So my whole goal, the whole path that I had, was to become a marriage and family therapist. That was it. I was like, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get my doctorate in that, and that's going to be my career. However, when I jumped into claims and I kind of like fell back, I was like, it's kind of good making a little bit of money. But on the side, it was the hobby that I had. So back to where it was getting a lot of praise and recognition of the photos that I was taking, it was to the point where I was actually losing money when it came down to that specific hobby once they started paying me to do it. I was like, all right, so if I'm right here and I'm only giving this about 20%, 25%, and I have these weddings that I'm shooting, but during the week, any free time that I have, I'm editing, or I'm trying to market the company, or whatever I'm trying to do there. What if I was to give it 100%? What if I was to take all my time, or take every part of my brain to focus it in on the business itself? How much further can the business go? Mm-hmm. So I'm moving into the support phase. I would say that my wife, I gotta say, like, she was the one that was working. So when I was trying to figure this all out and jumped out on a whim, she was the one that was working. So in the kind of way she was supporting the family while I got it together. Mm-hmm. So that kind of piggybacks back into what you were just saying, is like, when you have kids, you then have to think, all right, I just can't be out here just posting things, or I can't be out here saying I'm a business owner, but I'm not thinking about their future. So that was the biggest drive. It was outside of the fact of, she was working, she was bringing in the bread as we got it all together, but it was really looking at the kids and saying, okay, do you want to leave something for them? Or do you want them to see that there's a strong possibility that if I was to just follow a path, my dad is taking that, I don't have to be a photographer or videographer, but he jumped out. Instead of saying, oh, this inventor jumped out, or this entrepreneur jumped out, you're looking at Elon Musk, you're looking at this person, but I actually know somebody that did it, and it was my dad. So that's what really just drove me over the edge. I was like, I'm going all in on this. Definitely going all in. Now, moving to the second part of your question, like with business owners, where the importance of having like a strong personal brand online is, I say it just like this, a blanketed statement. There's a ton of people who do the same thing you do. Mm-hmm. You could Google it. You could go on social media. Everybody wants to be a consultant. Everybody wants to be a fashion designer. Everybody's a photographer. They're a videographer. But what sets you apart? Meaning, what is that it factor that you have? And the thing is, when I sit down and I talk to clients and I tell them, it's like, you have to realize that there's nobody, I mean, absolutely nobody that's going to be as unique as you, because you are unique in yourself. I'm not going to get religious, but God made you exactly who you are. Mm-hmm. So if you just tap into what makes you you, and I'm talking about going back to how you was raised. If you were raised by a single parent home, if you raised with both parents, if your dad was working all the time, if your mom was working, it's everything that you went through when you were a child and you were growing up, that makes you you. The way you see the world. So that one spin is going to make you completely different than anybody else that is a consultant or a fashion designer or a marketing person. It's just that one thing once you tap into it. But for you to let people know what that is, you have to put yourself out there. Mm-hmm. So that's where a personal brand comes in. It's like, you know what? I understand he's a photographer, but he's a Caribbean photographer. Or I understand he's a photographer. Oh, but he has it to where he's a father of 4. So his take on taking photos or looking at an image a certain way is going to be completely different than this person who is single. You kind of see what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's one of the biggest things I try to instill in the clients when I talk to them, even if they go with me or not. It's just realizing that it's you. No matter what, you can have your job description, but it's you that's selling whatever it is that you're doing, because people want to know who you are, Nice. Chin down just a little bit. Not so much, a little bit up. There we go, and look out. I totally got it too. All right, so now let's go for holding your towel. 1, 2, and 3. Or you're actually taking that out of the bag. Let's do that. Yeah. I'm sorry, huh? And now you're gonna act like you're biting it, okay? That was perfect. That's what I needed right there. That's awesome.
All right. So the first thing when you talked about the support system, so and that's invaluable. So, but a lot of people don't have that. So, are there tips that you can give for someone that's trying to balance the 9 to 5 and the hobby?
Cool.
That can to monetize it.
Okay, so that's huge because it all depends on where you're at. I shouldn't say mentally, but where you're at mentally. I got to say it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are fixated on the things that they see online. Let's just use the personal branding, use the entire social media scene. A lot of people are fixated on the things that you can have as a result of you being an entrepreneur or as a result of you jumping out. Instead of really kind of like diving back and thinking about, okay, why am I really doing this? Am I really doing it for freedom, or am I really doing it to, build a big business that I want to sell? It just goes back to that why, right? So if you are in a 9 to 5 and you do have a hobby or you do have a talent that you want to put out there, just focus in on that why. And you got to start early. Like, that's the biggest thing. I think before you even go into making a business plan, really, what's the why? Why are you doing this? For me, it was to let my kids see that there's a possibility for a black individual to jump out and build a company. That's what it was. No matter however I shaped it, I could have opened up a car wash. I could have been a detailer. I could have been anything else, but that was the biggest push to let them see, instead of you hearing somebody say, you have a real life example of somebody who tried it. So if you just prepare yourself mentally, just knowing that I'm working this 9 to 5 to support the business that I'm growing. If you just look at it that way, instead of saying, oh, I can't stand it, I can't stand it, just go into it thinking like, I'm using this to fuel my business. So if they offer overtime, yeah, I'll take it, because I know on the back end, it's fueling the business that I'm growing on the side. So that will also help you when it comes out feeling like you have burnout. Because again, if you just focus in on you taking this to build this, then everything that you do over here doesn't matter. Like, yeah, I'm gonna give my 8 hours and I'm out, or I'll put the overtime in because I know what I'm building here or I'm taking here, it's building over there. So I think that's one of the biggest things that people should start realizing or start focusing on right now if they're in a 9 to 5 and they have something that they want to pop, as far as me and Archie.
And that was actually my drive. So, I say this all the time and people can get tired of this, I'm sorry. So the theory of the dollar is the dollar represents time. So the more money you have is the more time that you have.
Yes.
So, and the more money that you make for someone else, the more of your time you're giving to them.
Yep.
So my goal was I wanted more time for my kids. I wanted to be able to, my kids are off for spring break. I don't want to have to worry about, I got to talk to my boss to see if I can have the time off. Yeah. So the consulting for me was I would have more freedom, more time for my family to do all the things that we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I feel that was me. That was my drive. And that was my why. So I like that, because a lot of people don't know how to how to figure out what it is, why they're doing what they're doing. Meaning, like, I want to have a business. Why? Because you see other people with a business, or that's what's popping on social media is I'm a businessman. Whatever, like the Jay-Z lyric. So I like that. What's your why? And that's
yeah. I'm telling you that why is huge, because it not only that, it'll get you out of a lot of situations that you should never be in the first place. Meaning, I'm gonna go buy this G-Wagon because everybody on social says I could get it, I could write it off because of the weight class, and I'm gonna ride around in this G-Wagon, let everybody know that I'm an entrepreneur here in Atlanta. But is that going back to the why? If the why is the kids, why does the G-Wagon matter? You kind of understand what I'm saying? And I do understand it for marketing purposes and stuff like that. I understand the play behind that, because it's to showcase that, my business is doing well, but to jump in on
that's
me.
Still a means to an end.
It is.
So,
yeah.
So I get what you're saying, because there are people out there that do it just because they want to show off.
Correct.
So, the why has to be a legitimate why
It
versus,
has to be
keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I got you. All right. So I want to go back to how other businesses can build their brand with some of the, the tips and the systems that you utilize. All right.
Okay.
So, if we focus on, I want to take something, when the pandemic hit, a lot of people got crickets and started making shirts and apparel brands, which were good. I mean, a lot of folks have made some good money with it, and they're trying to expand their reach. So what would be a good step for them? Should they focus on what they're selling, or should they try to sell themselves? I mean, how do you think, keeping social media in mind, since, to drive people to their pages?
Correct.
What do you think would be a good way for them to move forward?
Wow. So the biggest thing and you hear this across the board when you're talking to anybody who's dealing directly in the social media space, is that people don't buy brands, they buy into people. That's what it is. So you could think about it. Like for Tesla, people buy into Elon because Elon is a visionary. Even though Elon cannot physically make a Tesla, you bought into him.
Yeah.
Tesla itself is a brand, but if Tesla had no face behind it, there was no controversy behind it, it would be kind of hard. Even though you're in the electric car space, you're just thinking about it like, but I like Elon. You could either love him or you could hate him. So if you're a person right now and you decided, hey, I'm going to buy a Cricut, I'm going to start making T-shirts, you have to go back. I know I keep going back to this, but go back to that why that you're making a T-shirt. It could be a story that earlier on when you were growing up, just say if this was the case, earlier on when you were growing up, we had no washers and dryers. We would wring everything out by hand. If you grew up in wherever you grew up, you wrung it out by hand and you hung it on a clothesline. And every day I used to look at the T-shirts outside and I used to think, man, it would be great one day just to own a dryer. Or it'd be great one day just to own a washing machine so I could wash my T-shirts and put them in a dryer and I can actually wear them the next day. And let that fuel whatever it is that you're doing now. Like I took that passion of wanting a washer and dryer to now wanting clothing that people could wear, that it could represent exactly who they are. Everything could be just tied back to that one story. So I think a lot of times with entrepreneurs, what they do, they forget where they came from. I'm not going to say that I grew up in the hood all the time, but yeah, I grew up in the hood. I did. But now, everything that I learned when I was growing up helps me today. And a lot of people forget that. They're like, oh, no, I didn't grow up in the hood. No, we everything we had was handed to us on a silver platter. But that's what made you. You kind of see what I'm saying? So I think going back into just making sure that you are focusing on your why and you're focusing on what makes you you, any brand could thrive just by that. And if you feel like, I don't want to really put myself out there, but you got to think about it. If you're in the business to do business, by you not putting yourself out there, you are risking your business. That's it. Hands down.
No, I'm not checking it. I don't want to get yelled at about it rattling on the table and get in trouble.
I'm glad mine fell.
Yeah, so now, it cracks the whip when we mess up I'm sorry, y'all. Just bear with us. So, okay. So sticking to being true to who you were.
Yes.
And using that to tell your story.
Correct.
So all right. I'm not camera savvy. Honestly, until I was convinced to do the podcast, I'm not one to put myself on camera like that. So, but it would have helped me build out my consulting program even faster if more people had access to my personality through, videos or however. So what do you say to a person who is camera shy or who doesn't think, let me back up a little bit. There are a lot of ads on social media, TikTok, that you can build this huge brand and you don't have to show your face.
Correct. Yeah.
You don't have to be on camera, and people will come. What's the one? The big one. Faceless YouTube videos.
Yes.
So I've seen I'm asking this because I saw your video about this.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that? Do you think that a person can build a successful brand without selling themselves?
Correct. Yeah, and you see a lot of them. You see, I think take the drop names like Motivation Mafia is one that's on Instagram, and they just take clips from everybody else, and to the point where they post it, they get the reach and they get the views, right? And there's an entire business model behind that if that's what you're into. However, if you're in a space to where you are selling, I hate to say you're selling your expertise or your team's expertise, at one point you have to show your face. Now, there's another way around it. I mean, you will have salespeople that sell your vision, but you still have to think about it that it's still your vision.
Right.
You kind of see what I'm saying? So I think right now, and we're kind of backing up to the question that you were asking before, if you are a person in the space you're camera shy, you could start looking at the things that you do on a daily basis and figure out a way to create content around that. Recently, I put a video out talking about your Zoom calls, all right? And how many times that you have hopped on a call with a client and they want to do a Zoom because they want to see who you are.
Yeah,
they got to see you. So, from that point, record it. And while you're recording it, you are just recording it for two reasons. You're recording it, one, to evaluate the way that you're selling, and two, you're recording it for content. Because what if this client does turn in, or this prospect does turn into a client? You then take that content of you giving answers. Because people, they want that touch to know not only the fact that, hey, I like this person, but is this person the right person for the job that I need them? They're like, is this the right person? So if you don't even want to show the client, don't show the client. Just show you giving the answers to the questions that they're asking. And there's plenty of ways to do that. Like you cut it vertically and you just have it pop up the question that they ask, and all of a sudden you're just giving that answer. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So because you're doing it regardless. So in fact, you don't have the camera pointing against you. You just have your computer screen or whatever setup that you have, but you're in your natural element right now, talking about the thing that you're an expert in. So that's content right there. People see that's unfiltered. Oh wow, he's giving that answer, and you don't have to say 3, 2, 1, go. You see what I'm saying? So that would then sell exactly what you're selling across the masses when it comes down to social. Because how many times are you on a Zoom call?
Every day, multiple times a day.
Yeah, and again, a lot of ways to get around it. Like I was saying from before, you don't have to show the client. You don't have to show, or you could bleep out what you're talking about if it comes down to a specific company name, or it could be an initiative. Many people have initiatives that they're doing. Hey, I need you to jump on this campaign, but just focus on the answers and you put the answers out there. I think a lot of times too, what happens is that people have the crab in the barrel mentality. They want to say, well, if I put all this stuff out there, man, people are just going to steal my business or steal my ideas. That's when you go back to what is your why and what makes you specifically you. There could be another Roy Kroc. There could be another one right now. There could be another one, another Kathy. I forgot his last name for Chick-fil-A. There could be another one, but there's not going to be him. Right. It will not ever be another him, because it's all a combination of all the things that he went through when he was growing up and coming into the business. So,
I appreciate that. So, when I talk to people about being on the show, I say, the whole point is to avoid gatekeeping. I want to talk to people who are willing to share the tips on how they got to where they are. And I'll let you know that Jason didn't go. Excuse me, Jay.
No, it's so good to Jason.
Jay didn't go into all of the clients that he has and all the things that he does, which he could have. Because you're naturally a humble guy. So I know that saying that brag on yourself is not. That's kind of like anti you. Yeah, so I'll brag on him a little bit. Like he has clients that fly him all around the world to shoot content for them. Yeah. He's done work for Lowe's. You left Lowe's out. You mentioned Home Depot.
I did.
So I mean. Your perspective and your point of view holds value, because all of these large companies that we're all trying to build our businesses up to be like are people that hire you to help them build their businesses more.
Correct.
So there's a lot of value in what you're saying. So back to your crabs in a barrel. When I talk to people, I say, hey, I want you on the show, but this isn't one of those things where you're going to come on and say, buy my training course, and I'll tell you all the secrets of how I became successful. I appreciate what you're doing, because you're here telling how you became successful in your drive. All of us have a why. It may be difficult to figure out or put it to words what our whys are. Like my why was, I got tired of sitting in traffic. Atlanta traffic, if you don't know, is like ridiculous. Yeah. I would leave work at 4 or 5 o'clock, and it would take me 2 hours to get home. my kids want to play now, but I've been sitting in traffic for 2 hours. I'm wiped, and it's not their fault. And they're home from school, and kids. Some of the things that kids say, and this is dipping away from business for a second, but bear with me. Some of the things that kids say translates differently for adults.
Yeah.
So like a kid coming home say, can you sit down and color with me? They may have had a rough day, and all they want is just that 5 minutes or however long to make their day a little better. And, we're tired. We've had a long day. We've been stuck in traffic. I'm not thinking along those lines. I just know that I'm tired. I just walked in the door, and you want to color, and I had to catch myself, reel that back in because they need me too. So my why was I'm tired of busting my ass for all these other people to make them money, and I'm too tired to play with my kids. I'm too tired to have dinner with my family. I don't want to live like that. I want to control my own schedule. I want to come and go as I please. I want to tell a client, you know what, I'm not taking these calls on Friday because I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So that was my why. And, I hope that you saying that will help people figure out what theirs is. So back to you, not going into all the bragging that you could have done. Tell me about a time, or tell me about what was your favorite, I guess, job?
Wow, man, that's a good one. I had several. I would say one of the ones that I'm on now is with a client, and she's an amazing person. And it's actually a field or an avenue that the company is starting to shift towards as well. But she's in the government space. But the freedom that she has based off the moves that she made is really inspiring. But the reason why it's fun is because she just picks random states that she wants to film in. And we get to go out there, we get to see all different parts of the country, but also tie back into her overall goal for small businesses. And that is that you could be a small business, but you can have contracts with the government to excel your business or to propel your business. And that's her overall goal. And she's done it, and she's pushing small businesses towards that, which makes absolute sense. Yeah. Being that we know the government is like the biggest buyer. We already know that. But I would say that's by far one of the best ones that I'm working with right now, because again, I get to see all parts of the country that I wouldn't even go to. I wouldn't go to Kansas. What I would need to go to Kansas for, even though granted, I know they.
So, see, right there, you just offended somebody.
I did.
Like
I just
somebody
caught
in
it.
Kansas sitting there, and they just turned the video off right in that moment.
Like, click.
For real? That's what we doing?
But I would say that's one of the. Another one was with Home Depot. We did an event video for veterans, and it was based off the fact that there were service dogs that Home Depot then they come together with this organization, and they provide service dogs to veterans because with the PTSD that they're dealing with, the dogs help them. But just to see how many veterans were out there, and to see what these dogs are doing, and it could be the smallest poodle, or it could be the biggest German Shepherd. What these dogs are doing for these people who serve the country is insane. And to see like Home Depot supports them so much, it was like one of those things. Like when you show up, you're like, I'm proud to do what I do. But I can say that I could go on more, but for the most part, that's where we're at right now.
So this would have been a moment where if I were in your shoes, I'd have talked about the time a client flew me and my whole family to some Caribbean island.
Oh man, yeah, I know.
See, again, I know. I've known him for 20 years, so I can bring up.
It's hard to pull it out.
So the time that we got to go, and she canceled the trip, she didn't need it, but my family and I still got to go enjoy.
We still went. I forgot about that.
Yeah, see, those are the type of stories.
It's a lot.
So and that's what's amazing to me. This was a hobby of yours.
It was a hobby, yeah.
And now you get to travel all these places. You get to see all these things from a hobby.
Yeah.
So that is amazing to me. I mean, I love that for you. I'm happy and I'm proud of you.
I appreciate it, man.
So
I definitely do.
That's really dope. So okay, all right. So we touched on how businesses can build up their brand. So what are the best avenues for someone to utilize? So meaning like, would you say that they should put more energy into LinkedIn or?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Where should their focus be?
Well, all right. So the biggest thing that I tell anyone right now, prospects or clients, is just to really focus on a platform that you feel the most comfortable with. in our age, I hate to say it, but in our age, it was like first it was Facebook. Not actually it was first MySpace, but Facebook.
You're telling too much.
I know, telling too much. But it was Facebook because the majority of the people that we knew were on Facebook. So naturally, you're gonna gravitate towards that because most of your audience is there. But it's whatever you feel more comfortable producing content on. LinkedIn has a space, and to be honest, LinkedIn is really good for B2B. Obviously, we know that because most professionals are on there. But the biggest thing I would say about LinkedIn is that once you get in, you could disrupt LinkedIn like no tomorrow, especially in today's age, by just doing video. Because there's a statistic out there, like there's about, I believe it's like 90 or 95% of the people on LinkedIn don't post anything. So if you're just that 5%, if you're just that 1% of the people out there that is posting consistently, you're already like rattling all kind of things when it comes down to like the algorithm, because it's showing that, hey, I'm on this platform and I'm actually using your platform. So I would focus on that, especially if you're in a space, if you're selling extremely high ticket items. When it comes down to consulting, you bring me in for 6 months, we're doing this, and this. It's really good to go on LinkedIn because, again, you have the decision makers on there.
Yeah.
And also the biggest thing I want to tell individuals, especially in the entrepreneur space, is stop focusing on the vanity metrics. You just stop focusing on that.
All right, time out. Vanity metrics, explain.
Okay, vanity metrics is how many likes, how many views, how many. All you need, if you're in the business space, is the right video to hit the right person. So in this case, if you are posting, use the YouTube method. YouTube's algorithm, all it does is takes the video that you post and they put it in front of the right person. That's all it does. That's the whole basis. Once you get that, once you understand that, that's how LinkedIn is thriving. Not LinkedIn, YouTube is thriving because it's just taking the right video and putting it in front of the right person. So if you think about, I'm posting this video, it's not hitting. I don't understand. It's not going viral. Virality doesn't make any sense if all the people are seeing it. They have nothing to do with your business. They don't even care about your business. They just like, oh, that was funny. Or, oh yeah, he's dropping gems right there. But those are not your clients. It just needs that one person to see it. So, and the reason why I'm saying that, it happened for me several times. I would post something about, let's say, if you needed to make a video, here's an easy way to do it. It may not get a lot of traction at all. Usually it don't, but it's the DMs afterward. I'm like, hey, I saw that video. My company was looking to do X, Y, and Z. And then once you pull them up, once you do your research on the company, it's a multi-million-dollar company. It just took that one video, even though it didn't hit what most considered say, oh, it didn't go viral. Oh, I'm not going to make any cash from it. It only took one person to see it. And then that goes back into like your networking opportunities when you get into that space. And that's how a lot of mine, I was waiting for you to ask this, but that's how a lot of the clients that I deal with today, how it happens.
That was my next question.
Oh, my bad.
It's cool because I was going to lead into when you were talking about LinkedIn. That's how I get my clients is from LinkedIn.
Yes.
Because from consulting, I do my posts, and so I was going.
No, my bad.
Go on, man. You
So when my show up or my team show up, whoever shows up to an event or to a client meeting or whatever we're doing, we're filming. It's when you get inside that room or when you get inside that building, you are now on go mode, meaning everything that you set up, everything that you say, the way you present yourself, the way you talk to the secretary, the way you talk to the cleaner, everything, you have to leave a lasting impression. Because they're going to be like, hey, that videographer came in, man, and he was really cool. Who was that guy? Oh, man, he's actually out of Atlanta. He flew in this morning. Oh, wow, he flies in from Atlanta? Yeah. So the next time that you show up, hey, remember, you the guy from Atlanta. Yeah. But what you got going on? And you start building that network and that relationship from there. But the opportunity that you have when you get one job, I say this, I know I'm jumping around, but I'm saying this on weddings. Let's go to wedding photographers, for instance. When you're on a wedding, you are in front of 200, maybe 300 people that could potentially be your client. So things that you instill in yourself, like the way you're going to carry yourself, the way you're going to interact with guests, the way you're going to interact with the bride, the mom, the dad, all that is connections that could come later on.
Yep.
So if you get hit with a inquiry and then you get hired for a job and you show up on that job, all the people around you could be potential clients. So that's one thing, even when videographers or photographers reach out to me today, it's like, hey, how are you on another flight? How'd you do that? I just tell them, it's like, hey, when you show up, how are you showing up? Like, are you showing up and you're like, I'm just here to do this job, get paid, and I'm going home? Or are you trying to get in there and figure out what else do they need right now? I could walk in, I see exactly what he needs, this. I'm going to go ahead and do this job, and I'm going to make sure I offer this later on. So there's different things that you can do. I hope I answered that question. I was dancing around.
You did.
Yeah.
Because you tie back to some of the things I talked about in our second episode where I talked about consulting, is you present someone with a problem and how you can fix the problem for them.
Yeah.
That's my sales pitch for my consulting gig. Like, you have this going on, like you just said, this, and this. This is how I fix it. And I mean, leading with the answer is something that a lot of companies aren't used to getting.
Yeah.
They're used to getting someone that says, well, I did this at this company. Yeah, what's that got to do with me?
Yes.
My particular problem is my problem. Yes. How can you fix my problem?
Ooh,
so
yes.
A lot of folks don't know to walk in as the problem solver. I'm and when I go on these meetings, the client meetings, potential client, I'm not arrogant. But I'm also very confident in what I know and what I can do.
Yes.
So I'm very personable when I talk to people. I'll crack a joke here and all that good stuff, But most importantly, this is what I do. This I know I'm good at what I do.
Yeah.
So when you're interacting with your clients and their guests and everything, my takeaway from that is you're presenting them with, these are the things I can do. And these are the problems that you have, and this is how I can fix it.
Correct.
And I need people to take away, that is a huge thing. If you can walk in and show someone how you can fix their problems, you're like 5 steps ahead of your competition.
Absolutely. So, and also you want to realize too, if you're in a business to do something, you have studied, you have worked positions, you have everything that you put into making or doing what you're doing. The population is not even on their radar. So, for instance, again, I'm just using my example here in photo. I could pick up a camera and just tell you everything about the camera, and you could just look at it like that's a black object. But I can tell you everything about that camera and what it's going to do, what it can't do, from what it can do, what you need to do, because that is the area that I'm focused on. So if you think about you're walking into a room and, like you said, you are looking for a solution to the problem that they don't even know they have.
Yep.
You already, like you said, not even 5 steps, you're like 20 steps ahead, because it's like, man, I didn't even know that's the thing. Like, what does that mean when they start leaning in on you? I'm like, oh yeah, because and you could rattle it off the top.
That's when I sit back.
Yeah, they say like, I gotcha. But you start, really, if you think about it, you start rattling off things like it's second nature. Like, oh yeah, I could tell you the reason why this is not working because this, and you're on here posting about that. That doesn't really make any sense because that doesn't tie back into what your business actually does. That's what, and the things what get me so frustrated, and I'm like, the thing that boil me is where I see companies jump on a trend, but they don't make the trend their own. Meaning they see people shaking and they're dancing and they're doing the do because the things are popping on the screen, but it has nothing to do with your business. Like, that doesn't have anything. It's not a personal thing, but it's nothing to do with the business, like what you're actually selling.
Vanity metrics.
They just want to see the likes to get that dopamine hit. I need that hit.
Okay, so I want to. That's a good segue to this, because a lot of people focus on the vanity metrics because they focus on the monetization. So, the more people that watch your video, the likelihood that YouTube or Facebook, Instagram will pay you for the video.
Correct.
So, how do you determine where your focus should be? Like, so for me, the monetization is secondhand. I'm trying to build a client base because I feel like I would make... I'm building my business more through client acquisition. The monetization, that's great if it happens, secondhand, but that's not my focus. So what type of business, or let me rephrase, how do you determine where your focus should be? The vanity metrics or finding that one person?
That's a good one. So a lot of businesses right now, I think I made a video about this too. A lot of businesses, when they start looking you up, they're really not really checking so much for the vanity metrics, meaning they're not looking at how many likes you have or engagement, unless you're getting into brand deals and stuff like that. That's completely different because they want to see if we give him this product or we give him this shot, would his personal brand or what his family's brand or whatever it is, would it take our product to the next level or would it put it in front of the most eyeballs? So that's a big difference. If you own a business to where you are getting products to, in essence, work brand deals, then yeah, you kind of want to like focus in on the brand deal because you just need that engagement. That's what they need.
Okay.
Whereas if you own a business that your whole point is to kind of like pull people in offline, then what you should focus more on is what can produce the most content and what platform or what area is going to paint you as an authority. So, for instance, like you're on YouTube, right? And this is on YouTube. When clients go, they search like, okay, where is he an authority? So it's great that the monetization will come in on the back end. That's awesome. But where is he an authority, and where can I dig in deeper to figure out all the things that he offers rather than going to his website? You see? So a lot of times when people are on Instagram and such like that, they're creators on Instagram, clients will look at that brand deals. They will look at that and it's just like, how long has this been going on? If he just jumped out this year, what is his engagement like? And that's when they want to offer you deals. But if again, like you're in this situation here, it's more just focusing more on what's going to give me the most content to put myself more out there. And this is where the long form comes in. I think I answered that, but hopefully
you did. You did. You did. I mean, but even you're giving valuable information on top of. So you answered my question, but you kept going, which you're answering other questions I'd asked.
No.
So you kind of beat me to the punch, but it's cool. All right. So just to wrap up.
Yeah.
All right. What would you say are the biggest takeaways for a potential entrepreneur in turning their hobby into, their career? Like, what would you say? Like, if you were to break down the steps that you took, can you give me the top 3 that if you can do these 3 things, you're on the path? Not to say it's a guarantee. Nothing in this world is guaranteed. But you could be on the path to turning your hobby into a career.
Okay. So number 1 is if you find that you are focusing more on the talent that you've been given, you're focusing on that more during the day than you're actually focusing on your own job, then that's a key indicator that, I need to pay attention to this. I really need to pay attention to this. But I would say with that, we're all given a talent. We all have something that we could do better than somebody else. Even if it's on neck and neck, you can at least be 2% better, 3% better, whatever the case may be than another person. So if you're given a talent, it's not a talent that you just have that you can just say, oh, I'll keep it in my back pocket. It's like it's your obligation to use that talent, and I'll get religious here, use that talent to bless other people or to help another person. If you can just stop and just think about, what am I really good at? And if I could just frame it and what can I take, what am I good at, and how can I help somebody else with that? That's the driving force of outside of you having your why. Because you are gifted with this. I am taking this. I'm not using it for my own personal good. I'm going to use this to help somebody else. So if you come in with that mindset on the front end, especially when you're sitting there like thinking like, dang, I'm thinking about this 80% of the time. I'm messing up. I'm not even doing my work. Just consider, how can you take that to what you're passionate about, and how can you translate that into helping somebody else? That's number 1. Number 2 is, like we discussed from before, figuring out what that why is. Like, what is the why? What is the reason why I'm getting up? Once I start this, what would be the reason that's pushing me when it gets hard, when there's no money in the account, when it's high today and it's low tomorrow? All those mixed feelings that you're feeling, like, yo, we're up and all of a sudden we're down. All those mixed feelings, like, what is going to be the why to get you out of bed? Like, what is that why? Is it do you need to take a video? If it's the kids, do you need to take a video of them saying, Dad, I'm proud of you? Do you need to take a photo of them and keep them by your computer when you're calling that client? If you get bad news from a client, do you need to look at the photo? Like, what is that why? I hate to say it, if the why is like, as a means to end, is a car, and it sucks. But if it is a car, put that car next to the computer. Like, this is the reason why I'm doing this, because I didn't have this growing up, and this is pushing me to make sure that I can provide this for my family later on. If you're into materialistic things, if that is it. Number 3, man, this is good. Number 3, I would say, really, if you're focusing on like growing on social, instead of trying to spray things everywhere, focus on one. And what I mean by focusing on one, focus on the one platform, and we touched on this before, focus on that one platform that's going to give you the most bang for your time. Meaning, if you have long form content, long form, I'm talking about YouTube videos, 20, 30 minutes, whatever the case may be. If you have that and you are building a business, how can I take that so I can make sure that I'm relevant in the spaces that I need to be relevant in? So if you're on YouTube and that's your go-to, how can I take those short form clips and place it on LinkedIn or place it on Instagram Reels or Facebook Reels? Like, how can I take that? How can I take the most time that I'm spending and spread myself across? I'm gonna give one more, one more.
Please.
I think the biggest thing to make sure that you are successful when your business is running is realize that you should only focus on the things that you're good at. A lot of times we focus on the things that we're not good at. And I need to get better at this. I need to get better at marketing. And yeah, in the beginning, you're going to be starting off at that. That's you all day. Like, you're wearing multiple hats. But get to the point to where you realize when you do start making a profit, when you start pulling money in, and you can then take funds and apply it to areas that you're not good at, let the people who have the talent work on that. For me, honestly speaking, for me, it's in editing. I'm really good at editing. I mean, extremely good, but there's people that's better than me and they are faster than me. So when clients come in and we have edits that we have to get out, say for instance, we have 20 different edits that we have to get out. Yes, I could do it, but what will make more sense? For me to spend time doing that, or for me to take that time and go generate more business? Mm-hmm. So you just give the things that you like, I could get better at that. Don't focus on that. Focus on the things that you're good at. If you're the one that sells the business, focus on selling the business, and then backfill all the other positions that like, well, I'm not good at the operations part. I could sell it, but I don't know what's going on. Get somebody in that place that is extremely good at operations. I think that's the one thing that, as entrepreneurs, that we fail to realize because we just see the profit. But if you just figure out, like, if I just take this profit that I'm making and reinvest back into the business, how much further the business can go if I just have additional people in place doing the things that, number one, I can't stand doing, or number two, I'm not really that good at.
And that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they don't invest back into the business.
They don't. They buy that G-Wagon. It's G-Wagon. Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so let the folks know where they can find you. They want to reach out to you. Just,
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube. A lot of my shorts, they're hilarious. I can tell that, but that is to get the engagement going. But you can find me on LinkedIn at Jason Lapointe. You can find me on Instagram at jaugustmedia or jaugustmediaweddings. Or if you want to reach out, I'm at info@jaugustmedia.com.
All right. So, Jay, I appreciate you coming by.
Hey, I appreciate you, man.
20 years, bro.
20 years, man.
It's crazy. But, again, thank you. I appreciate you sharing with the audience. And look forward to talking to you guys again. All right.
That was one of the best experiences, I can honestly say. God works in mysterious ways, and you just got to be blessed to all the things you get to do. But I got a chance to go in the field, be behind the scenes, man. I got some really great shots, and those shots, I know for sure is going to resonate with those kids, man. So I'm definitely blessed all the stuff that happened. Definitely blessed that I had the opportunity to do it. Look, man, I'm telling you, this was a dope day. Just got to be humble in what you do and just make sure that you keep pushing when you know what you do is amazing.